Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first Ask Leah of 2019. Yep, I'm back. This segment proved really popular in the last 4 months of 2018, so I have brought it back this year. For those of you who are new, what is Ask Leah? It's a Facebook Live every Thursday at 8 p.m. where I answer your communication and soft skill questions. So for those not familiar with my work, I really do train and coach, mentor, speak in a whole range of areas, particularly communication, how to have difficult conversations, emotional intelligence, resilience, mindset, personal development, self-management is the big one. I ran a workshop earlier this week called Calm the Farm, self-management at times of stress. And this segment is all about answering any questions you have that cover that whole gamut of soft skills, including things like public speaking and networking and the like as well. Hi, Rach, Cal, Robin, and Caitlin. It's also awesome to be here tonight because up until a couple of hours ago, I wasn't sure I would be. I have spent an amazing day down at the Australian Open today with the Willow Grove Tennis Club. We bussed down at 7 a.m. this morning with the kids and adults, and we walked in the door about 25 minutes ago. But I am here. I am ready for a shower, but I am doing this first. All right, so we are kicking off with a whole range of questions today. When I put out the call, I thought there might be a few come in given that we had the break. So I want to kick off tonight with, and let me just get this sheet up. I want to kick off tonight with the first question that came in, which was a bit of a tricky one. And it was over a function over Christmas. And this person was at the function, and it was a big family function, and they were introduced to someone that they hadn't met before. And, they were talking, doing the, small talk, things like that. And then the other person asked a question that the person on the receiving end, they weren't comfortable with at all. They asked about a family matter that the other person didn't want to discuss that. But as so often happens, when we're put on the spot, we think, oh, I've got to respond. And unfortunately, the person who contacted me felt like they were in a position where they had to respond, so they did, and it left them feeling icky afterwards because they felt like they gave more information than they were comfortable with and wanted to. But because they were focused on being polite in the moment at this family function, that's what they did. So I had a chat to this person and offered some advice on what to do in the future in a way that can shut down those type of conversations without being perceived as rude. So my tip to this person had to do with a technique that I've spoken about on Ask Leah before called the broken record technique. So particularly now that this topic has come up and it did catch her off guard, what I would suggest is to come up with a short and sharp key message. Okay, short and sharp one-liner that you're going to roll out if you get asked this again. Hi, Tristan. Tristan was on the bus with me 25 minutes ago, so welcome. Hi, Penny, as well. So I said you need to have this short and sharp key message to use as a broken record, so that when someone prompts or pries, maybe they're asking a question about, when you're going to have kids or something like that, have that short, sharp answer, not to retaliate, not to snap, but to say, you know what, I appreciate your interest, but I'm not actually comfortable having that conversation, or I don't like talking about that. I get that you're interested. And then have a question for them, but, I'd love to know more about what you do. So you're deflecting, you're being really polite, but you've got that key message that you've prepared in advance. So when you still get caught off guard, you have that line to come back with, Look, I get the interest, but I'm not comfortable talking about that at the moment. But I am comfortable in learning more about you. Tell me about what you do. Again, it deflects. Sure, they might go away and say, oh, geez, that was a bit rude. I asked them a question, but really, if they do that, bad luck. You've been polite and you've stood your ground. Okay. Second question that came in. Hi, Tanya. Hi, Jess. Hi, Steve. Hi, Ainsley. Second question that came in was a really good one. And I gave this person some advice, but I'm actually going to also give some business advice tonight because this one's a bit of a doozy. So someone had a booking for a bus company that they made last year in October. They did some inquiries for a bus hire for this year, and they got a price and they got a quote and they got the condition that they needed to pay a deposit within 30 days. So, yep, found a bus company, great, pay the deposit, awesome, all secure. What happened was last week, the bus company contacted this person saying, because wages have gone up and the price of fuel, it's going to cost you another $300. That's not okay. All right. So I advised this person, and there was a few emails back and forward, and the bus company was staying pretty firm and saying, well, we're sorry to have to do this, but we can't run this event at a loss. You're going to have to pay the extra money. And, I advised the person to write a very polite, reasonable, considered email that outlined that you had met their terms, you had paid the deposit, because initially the company was saying, we have to increase our price and because you haven't paid a deposit. This person was able to go back and say, look, I paid a deposit within the terms, therefore I believe the original price needs to be honoured. They did that, and the bus company still said, yeah, sorry, the price has gone up. We can give you a refund if you cancel. I advised this person to get onto ASIC and see if they had a leg to stand on. Unfortunately, because the terms and conditions, weren't all written out, saying that prices couldn't go up, all things like that, they couldn't fight it legally. But here's the thing. The reputational damage to that bus company is going to far exceed the $300 difference in the price. Because here's what happened. This person stayed very, very reasonable, but there was no way they were paying the extra money on principle more than anything. So they said, no, I will cancel. They found another bus company. They cancelled, got their refund. But, of course, they then left a very poor review on that bus company's Facebook page. They will also very happily tell people not to use that company. They will advise against it. This person, runs events, so they could be advising people on buses down the track. They're not going to recommend this company. It was such a silly move. Now, I'm in business. I get that prices go up, okay? But if you have quoted on something and received a partial payment, you don't then change the price when it's outside that person's control. It's nothing to do with your customer, okay? You don't then jack up the price. That's like me quoting for a workshop, getting a deposit, and then going, oh, actually, I could really do with a bit more money this month. Oh, yeah. So even though you paid a deposit and we agreed to that, I'm just going to jack it up. It's poor business. Sometimes in business, things like this happen. We have to wear it, and smart companies get that communication via word of mouth referrals and recommendations, that's king in business. And, to that bus company, I say absolutely charge people more from now on. Absolutely. You don't want to make a loss, but good faith, you should be honouring the quotes that you gave and the deposits that were paid previously. That's my advice on that one. The third question that came from a leader who wanted some advice. And this is a great question, actually. I'm really glad I got it. Hello to those who have just joined. This third question was about how to manage up. So what do they mean by how to manage up? How to manage up is, when you don't have to be a leader yourself, you might be a staff member, but how do you raise issues with your manager? How do you raise issues with your team leader? If you are a leader, how do you, manage your boss? Not just manage your team below you, but how do you manage those above you, their expectations, their behavior, the things that they're doing, particularly if you've got a new leader in an organization. It can be really challenging because they might come in like a bull at a gate wanting to make changes, which is great. And you've got to be conscious that not all change is bad, and it is good to have fresh eyes to ask why you do something a particular way, but you do have to manage up sometimes. And sometimes, let's all face it, not all, but a lot of us have worked for leaders that aren't great, and we have had to do that managing up thing. So some tips on how to do it well without damaging your relationship with your boss or being seen as that person who's trying to cause trouble. So first tip, and I've made a couple of notes on this one. First tip is get to know your boss and their communication style, their leadership style, their communication style. A lot of you will have heard me speak about the 4 main styles of communication before: aggressive, passive, passive-aggressive, and assertive. There's a whole big section and quiz on that in my book that's coming out soon, so you'll be able to check that out in there. But you want to know how your boss likes to communicate. Do they like direct conversations? Because if they do, then you understand, right, I'm not going to beat around the bush with them. I'm going to go have a conversation because they like conversations to their face, and they're not going to want me, saying anything behind their back, which most people don't want. But perhaps your boss is, feeling quite defensive because they've been attacked from a lot of angles, and you need to raise something with them, and you think, geez, they're likely to get defensive. Even that thought process is going to lead to a more considered conversation with them, because if you know they're likely to get defensive, you can frame your conversation in a softer way that makes it very clear that you're not challenging them, but that you are trying to help them get the best outcome. And this is my second tip. Come at it with a problem-solving approach. So you want to do the thinking first, and that's ultimately what it comes down to. Rather than going, oh, I've got to raise this with my boss, and running straight off to your boss and going blah, 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 blah with a problem, do the thinking first. If there's a problem, what are some solutions? What are some ideas that you have? How could you solve it? What are some alternatives, different ways of doing things? So that when you're going and speaking to your boss, you can say, hey, I've noticed this is a bit of an issue in the organisation. I think we could do it better in a way that works for all of us. My idea is X, Y, Z. I'll leave that with you, or what do you think? The thing is, a lot of our bosses and leaders, they're really under pressure as well. So if you are just going to them with problems, you become one of their problems. Okay, oh, here's Leah, she's raised something with me again. Now I've got more work to sort out. Okay, but if you can do that thinking and have some solutions, that goes down a lot better. Now, the key here, though, your boss might not take your solution and idea. That's actually okay. You're not saying this is what you should do or this is what you have to do. You're saying, here's my ideas, if you wanted to consider some of them. It just gives them an option. Number 3, put yourself in your boss's shoes. Again, this is about the thinking beforehand. So you want to have the conversation in a way that hones in on what they care about. So you've probably got these ideas on, I've got to raise this because this is an issue for the staff and it's causing all of these problems. which absolutely you've got to raise it. But before you do, stop. And hi, Mum. Mum has just joined, which is great, which means my boys are probably watching too. My hubby is away working on the Rosedale fire. He's deployed there at the moment, has been since Saturday. So the juggle of work and running a business, I should say, on school holidays is very real. And Mum, Marg, has been an absolute lifesaver. So thank you, Mum. Okay, putting yourself in your boss's shoes, what do they care about? So you're, the staff, this is an issue. The boss, okay, they're likely to have budget concerns. So we can't just go and say we need to spend, a whole heap of money. They might have to report to the MD, managing director, or a board. Okay, so they're going to need to know how to spin this that way. It might be they're worried about reputation because, geez, how's this going to play out in the media? You want to think of these things so that you can present it, having considered all of those different aspects. Again, your boss is then more likely to take the feedback. If you can say, now I know this has the potential to, be a concern to the managing director because it is an expense. However, I think by doing this, we will save money within 2 months, okay? You look at what they care about it and present it, tailor the message so that it meets their needs and yours, of course, but that you're coming at it from an angle that meets their needs. Be proactive, keep your boss updated. Okay, this is a good one. You're not running to them every 2 seconds. You're not doing that whole, getting input and approval for every little thing so that you end up micromanaged. But do make sure you're giving them updates, that they feel confident in your ability, that they feel confident that you've got their back. Now, if you are managing up in this way, that you're giving them the updates so they don't feel like they're going to be blindsided, then when there is an issue, they're more likely to listen to you because you're not just raising a conversation with them when there's a problem. Keep a good attitude and do a good job, even if you've got a crap boss. And this is really challenging, okay, because we can go lowest common denominator, okay, when we've got a crap boss. However, I really encourage you to keep that good attitude, keep doing a good job, because particularly in bigger organizations, other people are watching, okay? So you might be able to sidestep out of that role and go ahead in another department. People are watching, and if you've got a crap boss, other people most likely know their crap as well, and they will look at the people underneath to see how they perform. So it can actually be a huge opportunity to show that, even though they're behaving and working like that, you are doing better. And the last point on managing up, ask if they're happy for you to give them feedback. So if you might go into a meeting and say, done some research on this new procedure or you might say you've put this new procedure they've put in place. So we've been trialing that for the last 4 weeks. And, I've noticed a number of things in how it's operating. Are you happy for me to share those with you? And just that statement, if they then say, oh, well, yes, tell me, what are you finding? That simple statement, you're not bowing at their feet, but that little bit of, deference to their position can go a long way. So there's my tips tonight on managing up. The last question that came in tonight, which came in through Instagram, was a great one, and it was about not so much communication. It was asking for some advice, some tips actually on books I would recommend about confidence in a workplace environment and, sort of overcoming self-doubt in a workplace environment. And this person was female. So most of the books that I'm recommending, probably about half of them are pitched at females, but a couple of them are for anyone wanting to improve their confidence as well. So couple off the bat that I don't have with me because I've lent them out to people. So we have Tracy Spicer's Good Girl Bear is a great one. I'm a huge Tracy Spicer fan. Amy Cuddy, and you'll all know, those of you who watch me regularly, that I often direct people to Amy Cuddy's TED Talk, Your Body May Shape Who You Are, 20 minutes of your life. If you haven't watched it before, Google it straight after this. Amy Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y, Your Body May Shape Who You Are. Watch it. In terms of books, she has a book as well called Presence, which is a great read, all about how we can improve our feelings of confidence by the way we hold our body. And, it's incredible the way, it's a bit of fake it till you make it, or as Amy Cuddy says, fake it till you become it. It's acting confidently, positioning your body confidently, even when you don't feel it. If you haven't read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In, I recommend that. I know some people say, sometimes you got to lean out, rah, rah, rah. Of course you do. But there is some absolute gold in that book. Another one that I love, some of you who are watching here in Gippsland would have seen Jamila Rizvi speak at La Trobe Women in Business late last year. I've been a huge fan of Jamila's for a number of years, and this book, Not Just Lucky, is a cracker. The subtitle is Why Women Do the Work But Don't Take the Credit. So again, that's a good one about why we need to get better at our self-confidence in a workplace environment. Another great one is Grit, Why Passion and Resilience Are the Secrets to Success. That's not aimed at women, that's men and women. And, it's based on that whole thing that I bang on about in my workshops, that, you might be the smartest person, you might be the most educated person, but without grit, without determination, without persistence, it means nothing, because you might be the smartest person in the room, and if you don't do the work, or you don't apply for that job, or you keep it all bottled up inside, no one knows. So Grit is another good one. Hugely popular at the moment that I'm sure lots of people out there have read. Mark Manson, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. And for those who've looked at this and gone, well, that's ridiculous, of course we have to give one. That's his point, okay? It's a bit of a trick, the title. It's about what you give your fucks to be quite honest. It is, we have to let go of what other people think of us, of all of this crap that holds us back, and instead focus on what's important. The last book I'm going to recommend tonight is a local one. Woohoo! If you haven't read it, Marie McPherson's book, Cutting Through the Glass Ceiling. Whoop, there we go. Women Creating Possibility in Regional Australia, particularly relevant for those of you watching here in Gippsland or regional areas around Australia. You can buy this through Marie's website, which is mariemcpherson.com.au. It's a great read, not just because I'm a case study. It is a great read. It's got some practical advice on how we can all step up and cut through that glass ceiling here in regional Victoria to be confident and achieve what we want to achieve in our work lives. Speaking of books, mine is due back from the editor this week, which is hugely exciting. I am hoping to launch it, Soft is the New Hard, How to Communicate Under Pressure, at the end of March. Fingers crossed. I have a cover design that I might have to share with you all next week. I love it. It's fantastic. And the other thing I did have to mention is my first workshop of the year is on this whole topic of self-confidence. It's Shut the Hell Up, How to Control That Little Voice. It's the self-doubt workshop that I got asked about so much at the end of last year. When was I going to run it again? Well, I'm running it early February. I think it's the 5th. I want to say the 5th. Let me just check my calendar. No, lucky I did. Wednesday, the 6th of February. It's at Traralgon Business Centre, and it's in the evening, because the feedback I got was that a lot of the people that wanted to come to this workshop would be coming off their own back rather than by their organisation. Although some of you will come funded by your organisation, which is great. But because of that, I've made it in the evening. So it's a 6:15 start through to 9:15 so that you can finish work and come along. It's always a cracker night, that one. Early bird tickets are on sale until Sunday and then they go up. So if you jump on my website, methmac.com.au, or even you're already in Facebook, the event is under events in Methmac Communication. Check it out, folks. Great to be back. Send your questions through for next week. And I hope 2019 is off for a great start for you. Have a lovely evening tonight. I can't even speak. I've been up early. It's been a big day at the tennis, folks. Have a good one. Cheers.